Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The under-20s fixture is about to commence in this round 21 clash between the Edgeworth Eagles and the Weston Worker Bears. For the visitors, number 27, Sam Bidstrup, number 28, Michael Foster, number 24, Caleb Henderson, number 21, Jackson Lundy, number 33, Jason Moore, number 29, William Livingstone, number 32, Zach Skippen, number 20, Jay Snedden, number 25, Jack Camper, number 13, Jet White, number 17, Mark Afay. Substitutes today, number 2, Brock Thompson, number 140, Jack Randall, number 22, Harry Boardman, number 38, Josh Hall, and number 31, Ben Cloutman. For the home side, number 21, Declan Crook, number 5, Oscar Coots, number 10, Tuck Dura, number 4, Johnny Halliburton, number 11, Thomas Kowalski, number 7, Josh Lynch, number 3, Noel Steiner, number 2, Ryan King, number 8, Lisa Williams, number 31, number 6, William Spurlow, number 9, Josh Corelli. Substitutes today, number 31, Mitch Callanan, number 12, Aaron McLaughlin,
Go, go, go! Billy, the idea is good, but you play mid. Just because of the space. Bring it. Weston, love it, keep it up.
That's half time in the under 20s fixture. Tight tussle nil all. We'd like to thank the sponsors of the under 20s, Schofield Muir Solicitors, for your legal needs. Also our major sponsors, Newcastle Rescue, Barley. Of course the scoreboard sponsor, First National Lake Macquarie, Edgeworth Tavern and U20's Bistro. The Sporting and Recreation Club next door, where we'll adjourn to after the first grade fixture. They'll all be welcome to join us. As well as our many other supporters, we thank them for their support. PH Concrete's had a mammoth couple of weeks here, looking after the footings for the new lights, also the paths, the car parking. So please remember BH concreting when you need concreting done.
there now is ruthless, yes? You've got to drive, you drive. You've got to shot, you shoot.
Play you too.
That ball up there, go back and forth to the goalkeeper. And then he does that, and then he has to do that, and he can attack the ball. Yeah, for you, when you swing that far post, that turns the keeper, and then we get the momentum to the goal. Okay, good point. Next up, please, mate.
Good. Hendo. Hendo.
Talk to Tomo, who goes, who stays. Make sure the depth between you two isn't too big. Alright, make sure one's underneath. Switch them.
Tommy! 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 Come.
Relax, Todd.
Ball for Weston, scored by Michael Foster. West 1, Edgeworth 0.
Oscar! Oscar! Hey, let's run off. Take it, Oscar! Come in! Go out! Watch out! No, get out! Jack up! Good, Biddy. Hey, get the ball. Oscar, go. Yeah, let's roll it. In front of it, Brilliant, Jack. Come on, keep coming west now. Jason, keep going.
Yeah, no, that's all good. We've just got 2 mics today, so that's mine. Yeah, all right. I don't mind.
Wally, hurry up!
I haven't seen him yet. Yeah. Text friends weren't there when I checked, but I'll try and get on the phone to see if we can get it. Sounds good. Right on time.
Noah!
No, you just never,
One more, Johnson, one more!
never can.
Off the line! Off the line!
Oh, especially you're about an hour for that
Hey, next up, please.
Adams came out. Because you were so excited.
Keep going, hurry!
I remember.
Johnny. Nivo. John T.
Sitting.
Where is that?
Like, I can accept it if, if they're like a world
Where is
class.
that?
I can accept it, but I've seen, we saw what the case. Yeah, it wasn't. They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to Jack McLaughlin Oval in Edgeworth. It's round 21 of the NPL Northern New South Wales as the Eagles host the Weston Bears in a clash which could go a long way to determining the premiership. If Edgeworth want to make history in 2019, this afternoon is a must-win, plain and simple. For the last 4 seasons, the Eagles have got the job done in big matches at the back end of the season, but this year there was a slip-up, and one very few saw coming last week against Valentine, and it handed the initiative to Maitland in the race. They're now 2 points clear with 2 matches to play. Just going to pause for a minute's silence.
Thank you.
So Maitland 2 points ahead of Edgeworth in the race for the premiership. And while Edgeworth have been soaring in the last 4 seasons, Weston have not been in the finals. They've been in the wilderness, and a first appearance since 2014 awaits as long as their afternoon doesn't end in defeat. In the closest NPL Northern New South Wales season in recent memory, victory for either side gives them a shot at the premiership, while defeat puts them on the precipice of a failure to reach the finals. It's all on the line literally this afternoon, and some big changes from Edgeworth. Damien Zane has made 5 changes from the team who were shocked last weekend away to Valentine. Liam Spurway, Tyson Jackson, Dan Fabrizio and Keanu Moore all drop back to the bench, while Noah Steinartz is out of the squad altogether. Archie Finn, Aaron Apetesano, Will Bauer, Dylan Holtz and Sam Maxwell all come into the side, while for Weston just the one change for Hugh Yallian's side, who drew tour with Charlestown last Sunday, and that comes in goal. Scott Carter replaces Tristan Esquillant. The weather at Jack McLaughlin Oval, 19 degrees, so a warm winter's afternoon, but it's quite chilly with a southerly blowing at about 35 kilometres an hour. Referee for this afternoon's match is James Cleal. Currently is just shaking hands with both coaches. Edgeworth coming into this one, as I mentioned, on the back of that shock 3-1 defeat to Valentine. Ollie Smith, their leading goal scorer, suspended after a headbutt, and he was sent off, so they're going to have to deal without him. And the question is, Chris Turner, can Edgeworth continue their quest to make history, or will the Bears break their hearts?
Good afternoon, everyone. And but I think this one's going to be very interesting. I know we say that a lot, but with how tight it is at the top 4.
Here's an opportunity for the Eagles down the left edge. Got plenty on it, but too much from Will Bauer. That cross in front of the face of goal.
Look, plenty on this one. And the big question for me is, has Edgeworth got their eye on this game, or is it on Wednesday night, FFA Cup against the Newcastle Jets? And I know one thing's for certain, Weston will be hoping that's actually the case, but the key for me is how focused Edgeworth are. If they are focused and they're completely on this game, they can get the job done. However, we've seen Weston completely surprise everyone most this year with their results and how well they've been playing. And I have to say too quickly, Bart, we've got a very special guest this afternoon. Can't wait to get a hold of him in just a moment, and maybe you can introduce him.
Yeah, we'll introduce him as we see the ball just cross the line. So Aaron Apetesano, one of 5 changes to this side, with a throw to another one of those changes, Sam Maxwell, who launches it up the ground. And it's very nice to welcome Damien Smith into the commentary box this afternoon for the first time since round 9. That is about, what, a 12-match drought? 12-match drought, Smudge? 11?
It is, Bart, and it's great to be back. So I suppose the viewers are probably glad I'm back after listening to you two parrots for the last 9 or so weeks. So at least I'll get some good commentary and good analysis for a time being. So
yeah, well, this is interesting, Bart, because it's good to have him back, because now we've got some banter going on, and I reckon he's only back because we're like two games away from the semi-finals. So we always turn up for the big games. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, Big Game Smith, I think they call him.
Yeah, just going back on what you said earlier, CT, about Damien Zane and Edgeworth preparing for the FFA Cup on Wednesday. I think he's got obviously both comps. The FFA Cup for Edgeworth is their prize possession, isn't it? That's where they want to go, as far and as deep in the competition as possible. However, you know what? They're going for 4 premierships in a row as well, 5 premierships in a row. So that's also his target as well. So, and you know, he likes to rotate players. So there's been 5 changes. However, I don't know. I think they'll be hard to beat today.
Yeah, one of those changes, Keanu Moore, probably would shock a lot of people who don't know this competition. One of Edgeworth's top players, but that is really that decision has been made looking ahead to Wednesday night, I'm pretty certain, by Damien Zane. He knows how important Keanu Moore is going to be in the midfield against the Jets. He did trial with the Jets a couple of years ago. Keanu Moore, very good player. We'll see if he gets out there this afternoon. Here's Sam Maxwell. Couldn't quite nudge the ball past Liam Wilson, who's back from injury this afternoon. He has been outstanding for Weston this year. 7 goals, as has their front man, Jason Tianfu. Just opens up here for Chris Hurley. Now Buswell, neat touch from Lundy. Back for that man Wilson, who got bumped off the ball, and Robbie Turnbull. And here's the free kick, so he's brought it back, James Cleal, for the initial contact from Wilson. I should say Dylan Holtz on Liam Wilson. Decent position here. Robbie Turnbull, what about the strike from him? He hasn't scored for Weston since 2016.
Yeah, it was certainly looking like it was on target and blocked. And there's a strike. That one's easily gobbled up. Certainly, yeah, it did look like it was on target, and that's his intention. He did actually call over to my house this morning, Bart, to give me a hand with something, and he, yes, much what you're thinking there, and he did say that his side, they're pumped, they're ready to go, and they're focused. Look, probably like Edgeworth, both sides got niggles, perhaps, and Weston are no different today. There is a couple. However, they're expected to. They're coming out ready. They want to win.
Well, both sides will want to win, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I think Weston can't afford to lose. I think if Weston lose, it's going to make it a little bit difficult for them. Depending on results tomorrow, but I think if Edgeworth can beat Weston today, that secures them a top 4 spot at least.
Wilson with that dipping cross, and Aidan Gardner with the header away. Damien Zane has been waxing lyrical about Aidan Gardner's performances this season. Outstanding he has been. And he will play a big part on Wednesday night as well. We remember what he did in 2016 with Edgeworth when they made it through to the NPL finals, grand final against Sydney United. He was wonderful that year, and he's rediscovering that kind of form again in 2019 as ball across goal. That wind is behind Weston and very strong, about 30 kilometres an hour from the south. So that could play a part in being a little bit tricky for Eagles keeper Josh Lowe. Some of those crosses dipping in with the wind. Didn't have his best game last week against Valentine, so he'll want to put that quickly behind him. 5 clean sheets this season for the Eagles custodian. Buswell's touch a little heavy. Weston looking good early on, but the wind is behind them, so probably expect them to have a bit more field position in this first half.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think it's going to be a cagey affair for probably the first 60 or so minutes.
Here's Corley just nudging it in front of Archie Finn. Burst onto the scene with a hat-trick against Hamilton back in round 16. And he did well to scrap and fight, and Aidan Gardner almost profited. Will be a throw for the home side, who come into this one having won 5 of their last 6. That slip up against Valentine, the only blemish in recent weeks. Will Bauer couldn't get it through the traffic, and now James Clear's got a touch as well, the referee.
Yeah, but I was going back to the last few games, and even Weston, they've been undefeated in the last 5 games. However, there's been 3 draws, and that's made them slip out of the top 4, hasn't it, CT?
Yeah, well, as we stand right now, Maitland are on 37, played 18. Edgeworth playing their game 19th at the moment. They're on 36. Charlestown 35. Weston 35. Lambton 34. And would you believe slipping down to 6th is Broadmeadow Magic. Now, Broadmeadow are only 5 points off the pace smudge. Yeah, I don't think they can win the comp from here, but they can definitely make the top 4. They play the Jets this afternoon, and then they play Charlestown next week. So
I think it's going to come down to the last game, to be honest, but it really depends on results tomorrow.
Yeah, they've got the Jets Youth this afternoon, Broadmeadow, 5 p.m. at Magic Park. So you can catch that on Bar TV or head to Magic Park this afternoon if you want to check that out. That's a big game.
And for me, that's a must-win. They must win that.
So here's Adam Corley bending it into the wind. Hurley looks up.
Nice touch.
And that pass had plenty behind it. Sam Maxwell brought it down well. Pedasano to Gardner. Now Buswell just got there in time.
Ooh.
Lundy broken 8-game goal scoring drought a couple of weeks ago against Broadmeadow Magic. Just won in his last 10. Now Robbie Turnbull, who's pushed up high on the right, finds the Dutchman. And Fu drops it in front of Buswell. Well brought down by Cooper Buswell. Great first touch. And well defended in the end by the Eagles. Sam Maxwell, I'm pretty sure, across there. Josh Rose there too. Silky skills from Cooper Buswell, who's scored 3 goals this year. His best season was 4 in the back of the net in 2017. So he can equal that with a goal in the final 2 matches of the season. Hayden Gardner read that well. Got there in front of Camper. And he strides away down this near side. Clips it towards Dylan Holtz, who has a good record against Weston. Will that continue in front of goal? In their last 10 meetings, Holtz has scored 5 goals. Rose to the back post. Archie Finn was almost there, and Hayden Gardner, well, he's destroyed the net. I'll tell you what, they'll have to get that fixed before Wednesday night. That has just ripped the cord. And I'll tell you what, it's probably good it broke this afternoon.
Yeah, great ball across, Bart, and Sam Camper just here on the left-hand side. I was just ball watching a little bit, and Gardner came through, ghosted around the back.
I think what you're referring to there, Bart, we don't want that type of incident on Wednesday night. Would cause chaos, and you've experienced that firsthand. Tell us about that.
Well, not quite as well. This isn't quite as bad as what happened, but that was the first A-League game I did where the post broke at Central Coast Stadium. Yeah, that was a great evening. We had to pad for Daniel McBrain and I had to pad for about 40 minutes.
In your first Foxtel appearance.
Yeah, I won't forget that one, I must say. And Glenn Lauder on the sideline did a great job as well that night. So here we go. And we had the duty officers running out that night as well. This is going
to... I have to say, Bart, it was on New Year's Eve, but I did take the time to listen how you handle that. And, of course, you handled it with style, as you do. Carter is being allowed to get on with it.
That wouldn't be allowed in the A-League, I know that much. Wouldn't be allowed to be strapping up the post while the game's going on, but good to see they're playing on. It's Josh Rose's clearances scuffed over the sideline. And as you were saying, Smudge, just touching on the fact that Weston have only won 2 of their last 5, a stat which points that out as well. So the Bears have lost 3 matches away from home. They've lost just the once at home, yet they have more points accrued away than they do at home, and they've played an equal amount of matches. So that just shows how important it is to get the 3 points and go for a result than just try and play for draws late in matches.
And they're such a well-structured side, aren't they, CT? We've seen them a few times this year, actually once. But I've seen them once this year, and I was very impressed with them. But I've seen them a few times on Bar TV, listening to U2 Parrots, so...
Yeah, and that one time, that was one of the 3 games you've turned up this year, but one of those 3 was Weston, and we did have a chat to Hugh Jalens, and he's... It's great to have you back, Hugh Jalens, and one of the things, all jokes aside, one of the things that he was talking about is the adaptability of his team. He said something that I haven't heard before, in that he said that he lets them go out there and decide what formation they're going to play based on what the opposition are doing. Not necessarily worried about them, but defensively they'll set up as they need to.
Yeah, well, Q actually played at a World Cup, so obviously he knows what he's doing, and they're such a well-structured team, especially in defence.
I was going to say, he actually played against
And I like the way they rotate. I've watched Broadmeadow a few times this year, and they don't really rotate. They sort of play structured, but they don't really rotate their midfield. They sort of stay put, which is easier to defend.
Here's Wilson, dropping it almost in front of Tianfu. Cox to Lundy, didn't get forward. The bright orange boots for Egan Lundy. Now
Just
Camper.
quickly back to that point. If you are well organised enough.
Here's Cooper Buswell with another incursion into the box, and well, Weston certainly thought there were, well, good reason for a penalty, but James Cleal thinks it's just going to be a corner.
And if you are well organised and you've got your team set up so that they can go out and defend and make decisions, especially defensively, to set up, I think it was like first one in and fill in the holes behind it, then it gives you a lot of creativity coming out in attack.
So Caleb Cox with one of the shortest corner run-ups in the local competition across goal. It just sat in the chest of Sam Maxwell. Hurley from distance, well blocked by Maxwell and also Adam Corley. Cox just rolls it around the corner to Jordan Jackson, who's high up the ground and earns his side another corner. The centre back getting forward, so Robbie Turnbull has just dropped in to the centre of defence.
So that's what I was saying. See how they just rotated then, and Jordan Jackson was playing high on the left. They like to rotate, like you said, just play how they see it in attack.
So Cox again, good delivery. May fall for Lundy. Pat Wheeler got his head to it. And now Chris Hurley, well, can hit a ball, and on that occasion, just the radar minutely off, but in a sense if he gets another opportunity, he won't waste it.
And why not have a strike from there? He balanced himself off well and got himself into position to put a shot on goal, and well worth an effort.
These two sides met back in round 10, and it was Weston who won 2-1. Liam Wilson with the winner in the second half. Jordan Jackson goes to ground and earns the free kick. Jason Tianfu and Ollie Smith, the other goal scorers. Tianfu scored the opener and Smith got the equaliser just before half-time. But Weston getting the job done. That was actually their first win against Edgeworth since 2015. But all of those wins recently for Weston have come at home. They haven't actually won here at Jack McLaughlin Oval since 2013. That was in the finals on penalties, 7-6 in the elimination final. They haven't won in normal time here since 2011. It's Tianfu. Wheeler in the way there, and now Dylan Holtz. Corley looking to release Will Bauer. The Eagles striker who is just lacking a little bit of confidence at the moment. Hasn't scored since April.
Just on there, Bart, I like to see Will Bauer. He's sort of, Morris is just out in his own out there. It would have been good to see Will Bauer just spread a little bit, go a little bit wider. Then he's one-on-one with his pace and Nathan Morris, with no one backing up Nathan Morris. So just drift out a little bit wide when they get the ball, because there's space out on their left and right hand side.
And we can see Robbie Turnbull's mate taking full advantage of that early in the game as he tucks in now, where they're trying to lock Edgeworth into their own bottom third.
Hurley was able to just hook it in, but across the byline.
And as you mentioned earlier, Smudge, this opening part of the game, first half an hour or so, is very cagey. I think were the words you used, and so far that's been the case. Both teams defending well, going forward in attack where they can. Both teams making their intention clear that points are important here.
That's a fair kick in the
There's Nathan Morris winning the ball in the air, as he does so often, the Bears skipper. 6 goals for him in the last 8 matches. Hasn't he been outstanding both at the back and in front of goal since he's come back from injury?
And just looking at Weston here, you've got Liam Wilson, who's been playing as number 9, has dropped in the midfield. They've rotated their midfields quite well. Robbie Turnbull's high and wide on the right. They love playing with I like, as you know, CT. They're a well-structured side. But so's obviously Edgeworth.
It's incredible to think that of the top 6 this year, 2 are going to miss out on the finals. It seems unfair based on the quality we've seen, as Will Bauer almost got there in front of Robbie Turnbull, and Scott Carter back in the starting side this afternoon, onto it like a panther.
Sorry, and just again, Robbie Turnbull, just saying, he goes high and wide, doesn't he, CT? He just needs to be careful. He needs to tuck in and just cover it, which he did at that stage, because otherwise that was 2v1.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think he's got more than enough experience to know when he's got to tuck in and when he's going to go, and that time was the perfect example. Plus, he's going to manage his time on the pitch, and by that meaning, you know, he's not going to waste all of his energy earlier. He's getting older now, with no disrespect, and he'll make sure that he's able to get into the right areas at the right times when he has to.
Well, Tianfu was just given a little nudge there, and he went to ground. He's not going to earn the free kick. There's Dylan Burst in there, applying the pressure. Spent some time with the Mariners Academy, now back in the NPL Northern New South Wales, where he began with Edgeworth.
Now, as tight as it is, Smudge, if you were going to have a punt this afternoon, if you were going to, you'd get $2.05 about Edgeworth being the favourites. You'd get $2.80 about Weston, and you'd get $3.40 for the draw.
I can tell you there's been no draws in this fixture since 2013.
Yeah, I could have told you that, Bart. But it'd be interesting to see...
That's why the odds are out there a bit.
It'd be interesting what the odds, how they change in the second half, because I think the longer it goes on, and the wind's going to be right behind Edgeworth in the second half, and they've got artillery on the bench, including Keanu Moore, so I think that last half hour is going to be very interesting.
But CT, it's important to notify people to gamble responsibly if you are having a bet.
That's right.
Here's Pat Wheeler. Bauer just touching in front of Corley, sending Caleb Cox left and right. Archie Finn was able to thread the needle and find a Pedisano. Gardner steps away from Camper, who's going to have his hands full this afternoon. That's the energy of Liam Wilson, just diving in front of Adam Corley. Those two would have played against each other, with Wilson at the Mariners Academy and Corley with the Jets some time, as a Pedisano just clipped it in neatly, and well, the header from Corley, now it falls for Rose. Scored last week against Valentine. Took on the strike. Here's Burston. Now Pedisano. Run himself into a cul-de-sac there. Maxwell.
Well, Pedisano's done terrifically well. Great cross in there, and then equally the strike from Rose. Edgeworth really putting them under pressure, and Weston at the other end now.
Pat Wheeler there at the back. He's a constant for them, and he's been huge since Josh Rose has headed back north for work. So he's back for the finals. Josh Rose, I should say Josh Evans. As here's some space for Regan Lundy down the right, and he's just overcooked the pass. But Tianfu is going to run that down. Look at the energy from him. Now putting a Pedisano under some pressure, cuts it back across goal. Maxwell got there just in the nick of time. Danger not gone for the Eagles though, as Hurley just beyond Regan Lundy. Here is Josh Rose, misplacing a pass. You don't see that too often from him. Tianfu going to ground, another free kick from similar range that they had in the opening minutes here. Weston just outside the 18-yard box.
Great place to be taking a free kick from here, and we know this man, Nathan Morris, knows where it goes. We've seen him so many times before. Josh Lowe will be at full alert. He's just the distance which is perfect for him. He's going to be able to either go around the wall, he can go over the top of it. He'll be sizing it up. Lowe is just getting his wall in position. And Morris.
Yep.
See if he can go this time.
That right boot has been white hot of late. And here is Morris, straight into Maxwell. He's got his body in the way again. That's a few times in this first half. Crucial interventions from Sam Maxwell, and now Will Bauer looking to profit from that. Down to the byline. He's got some options in the middle. Weston have got the cavalry back. Gardner's ball with the wind is just going to drop in behind Pedisano. He's past Poor, but he gets away with it. Wins it back and finds Corley. And then Corley gives away possession straight to Camper. Wilson. Here's Hurley. And now Buswell neatly rolls it in front of Liam Wilson. Running away from him with the wind. Now Hurley Drops back for Robbie Turnbull. No pressure on him for that moment. Then Buswell with the back heel, and Turnbull, he was almost in on goal. And who else but Sam Maxwell again. Last line for Edgeworth in defence. Morris just centres it straight into Pat Wheeler. But all hands to the pump here for the Eagles. Hurley running at Gardner. Good footwork from Chris Hurley. But the defence of Edgeworth just thwarting him. Now Archie Finn was Will Bauer given a little checkered run there by Morris.
Just looking at Weston, Bart, they have got the wind behind them, and they're starting to bomb their right and left fullbacks, Robbie Turnbull and Sam Camp, a little bit forward, so a little bit skinny at the back. So they better watch a quick transition from Edgeworth. Could get them napping, and there's a lot of space there. They've got some pace up front.
Tien Phu now. Liam Wilson drives it forward. On the bounce away from Hurley. He's going to keep it in. Pitch looks in superb nick this afternoon. Here is Sam Camper. His brother Jack on the bench. Two boys from Dandenong City coming to play for Weston this season. Wilson a little too cute with the pass. Dylan Holtz intervenes. He drives it forward. Archie Finn was a wait to it, well read by Jordan Jackson, former Eagle in the centre of defence for Weston.
Smudge, I think the point you're making could be quite pivotal to the outcome of this game. Turnbull goes forward, Camper needs to tuck in. He needs to be that person that's putting almost like a sweeper if he needs to be, and the same on the other side, like a big pendulum. Those two need to work in respect.
Tien Phu shoulder to shoulder with Burston. And Buswell, who's looked classy this afternoon. Wilson from distance. And it almost ended up being a cross straight into the path of Tien Phu.
Yeah, Greasy's here. But sometimes if they are both bombing forward, Caleb Cox has just sat in front. So, but I think they just need to be careful because Edgeworth's got some pace up front and could hurt him.
We're just over the halfway mark in this opening 45 at Jack McLaughlin Oval. Second against fifth. Edgeworth looking to claim a fifth consecutive premiership. Maitland 2 points ahead of them at the moment. They need a win this afternoon against Weston, and Weston need a win if they want to lock down a spot in the top four. Gardner. Every day of the week, Nathan Morris will pick that off.
He's been one of their best this year, Adam Gardner, Bart.
Yeah, Damien Zane has been so impressed. Great to see him back to those 2016 levels. Holtz. Illegally dealt with there, according to James Cleal. Now, this is going to be tough. Into the wind, this free kick.
Yeah, but sometimes that's tricky for a goalkeeper, isn't it, CT? It can move around a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that. It can swirl on you, and Carter is probably one of the best shot stoppers we've seen, Smudge.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree with that. And I'll tell you what, he'll be in for a big second half, especially with the wind. Weston going into the wind, but good distance here.
Yeah, here is Gardner and Corley standing over it. And it will be Gardner to take and Gardner to score. And it was tough to keep out. It was swerving and it dipped into the bottom corner. And Aiden Gardner's superb season continues. That is a huge goal. Edgeworth 1, Weston 0. And he was scoring those kind of goals in 2016 when Edgeworth really needed them. There's a huge one in 2019.
Yeah, spot on, Smudgy. He hit Gardner there. He hit that. It swirled, it dinked, and really caught Carter. One of the best shot stoppers we've seen here. He didn't really give much opportunity.
Well, he sort of went the other way, didn't he? So he couldn't see the ball, or must have swerved a little bit. But as you know, if you're kicking into the wind, the ball can swirl around, and 1-0 to Edgeworth.
They've got to be careful here. Weston pushing forward. Nostradamus. Damien Smith. What a prediction that was. CT, give you part of that as well. You agreed with him as he was talking about how tough the free kicks are when they are going into the wind, but you saw it, didn't you? It just swerved through the air away from Scott Carter.
Yeah, for sure. There's a bit of breeze out on the field at the moment, definitely assisting Weston at the moment. So this is a great goal for Edgeworth, because if they could hold this lead 1-0 in the second half, they'd be more than happy, Smudge.
Oh yeah, especially with the wind at their back in the second half.
Robbie
Very
Turnbull.
important. Sorry, Bart. Very important for Weston is just to compose themselves, get back into the game, stay in the game. I think if Edgeworth get a second goal, I think they'll run away with it, especially having the wind in the second half.
And Weston...
Sorry, but ultimately this is all about 3 points. Edgeworth know if they beat Weston, Weston can't overtake them next week. And it virtually guarantees a semi-final spot for Edgeworth.
Well, that's the thing. A loss for Edgeworth this afternoon, as incredible as it may seem, could result in them missing the finals if they don't get the job done next week as well. So anyone can miss out, probably except Maitland. Maitland are the only side that you could definitively say have locked down a top 4 spot.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing is, if Edgeworth do get a win today, they put a lot of pressure on Maitland tomorrow.
Against Adamstown, and an Adamstown side who has been gritty and determined and could cause Maitland some problems. I've no doubt about that. Tianfu. Cross goal, and Buswell. And the spin and turn back to Caleb Cox. Sized up the shot. Instead found Lundy, who trod on the ball. Just broke his momentum. Now Archie Finn prods it forward. Will Bauer, lovely touch to Josh Rose, who is striding forward. Rolls it in front of Will Bauer. And maybe he was put off by the on-rushing Scott Carter. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, potentially. I'm just going to go back to Josh Rose there. When the ball was in his path, before he even touched it, he takes a look, saw there was nothing on and just pressed forward. And then sizing up his options when he gets into the box, played a terrific ball in there. And Carter, he had to be careful there. He wasn't going to give away a penalty. So we know, Smudge, that he can do that.
Well, it would be intimidating having Scott Carter rush at you. I wouldn't want him rushing at me.
Yeah, I remember back when I was coaching Broadmeadow, I was at this ground actually. Joel Wood was playing for Edgeworth, and they had a collision going virtually 100 mile an hour at each other, and I felt sick afterwards. And both actually got up and just I think Joel had to come off, but oh my God, it was a collision.
Speaking of your coaching time at Broadmeadow, Smudge, I ran into one of your former players yesterday, Daniel Casaroli, and said to say hello to you. Casser doing well and enjoying his football in a lower grade at the moment, lower division, and having a great time. He said to say hello.
Oh, cool. So we'll give him a bit of a plug there. He runs Fruit Brothers and doing a great business with his fruit.
Tianfu away from Gardner. Now cross goal. That's a lovely ball, and just again over the top of Lundy. Just those crosses from both sides have just been a touch too heavy at times. Only a touch as Turnbull back to Nathan Morris. And while we're plugging, of course, Edgeworth are playing the Jets on Wednesday night here at Jack McLaughlin Oval. Make sure you get tickets if you haven't already. If you can't get tickets, or you don't want to come out on a cold Wednesday night, you can watch it on Fox Sports. But you can also listen on AB.
We'll have to listen to you again.
No, not on Fox. I will be commentating for the ABC Newcastle, 12:33 a.m. If you want to listen to that call. I'll be doing that with Pete Ritchie, former Newcastle breaker, and Craig Hamilton. So there you go. Radio or TV on Wednesday night, we've got you covered. Here's Tianfu, cross goal. Now Nathan Morris, well, that came like it was fired out of a cannon, and it almost took out some spectators on the hill.
Yeah, love to see that from Morris. The strike like that, Smudge, win behind you from distance. We know his timing is fantastic. It's a little bit of a speculator, because if that far out, he's just going to put everything behind it, as he did. If it's on target, Lowe's in trouble.
And I haven't seen spectators on the hill move that quickly for a while.
Yeah, and that far back. It's not like they're on the fence line.
It was straight up. There's a mat there, and yeah, the spectator was flying through the through the air.
That's the back fence I'm talking about.
Here's Nathan Morris. I laugh more at that than your jokes, CT.
Oh, nice touch.
Here's Hurley.
Nice touch by Wilson.
And now Lundy trying to step inboard. Was there a handball from Pat Wheeler there? It was probably have been tough to give because he didn't have any time to react, but I've seen them given. Here's Rose.
He's been good, Rose, hasn't he? Playing left fullback for Edgeworth.
Yeah, just at the back end of the season. Doesn't he just go up another couple of notches near the big games? We saw those goals he scored last year in the important matches, including that one against Lambton here in that semi-final. A Pedisano. That one is not going to trouble anyone. But CT, sadly for our listeners and viewers, you are going to be leaving at halftime, so I actually thought you'd be trying to churn out the jokes as quickly as you possibly could through this first half.
What do you mean, sadly, Bart?
Sadly for him, I think he was referring to. He's stuck with you. Yeah, no, I'm off to the Arnett's, the Children's with Special Needs. My little boy Charlie's playing today. So, of course, Arnett's are the Baby Eagles, is what they're named after, and started here right at this ground. Thanks to Edgeworth, and then moved to New Lambton, who are also at New Lambton Eagles, so they are able to maintain, and that's happening this afternoon. So the children special needs are getting to play before Singleton, or so I should say, New Lambton and Singleton at New Lambton. So kids are really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be outstanding. Great program run by Mark Midson and the team. Nathan Morris. Oh, jeepers. And he tripped over, and then, knowing that he was in all sorts of trouble, he tried to tackle Archie Finn, and it's going to result in him going into the book. He may have copped a knee to the head for his troubles as well there.
Yeah, Morris showing some experience there. He knew they were in trouble, and he was just trying to slow him down that extra bit. I know he reacted getting a card smudge, but you totally expect it, because he got his team back into position, and you don't, as you say, don't want them to go 2-0 up.
So Josh Rose on set-piece duties. Holtz tried to push it back towards Burston. Now Tianfu. Buswell. There's Caleb Cox dinking it over the top, and Tianfu wasn't actually looking. So just over 10 minutes left in this opening half. Round 21 of the NPL Northern New South Wales, the penultimate round. Next week, Edgeworth playing Lambton at Arthur Eden Oval, and Weston against Lake Macquarie at Bear Park. Rockwell Automation Park next Sunday, 2:30. Every match played 2:30 next Sunday. I'm still not sure which game's going to be the match of the round. It probably will either be the clash between Edgeworth and Lambton, or Charlestown and Magic. Huge matches next week. Maxwell between the lines. Picked out Corley perfectly. Pedisano with a step over. Gardner with the run, and he just pulled up as the pass was prodded through.
Yeah, what I'd like to see there, Bart, is Aidan Gardner let a Pedisano just go one-on-one with the Sam Camper. Aidan Gardner sort of ran into that space, which made Chris Hurley come across. They have two defenders there. I would have liked to see Aidan Gardner just stay more central and let a Pedisano go at Camper one-on-one because there's space around the back.
Wilson with a very important toe in. Tianfu. Here is Liam Wilson again. Former Mariners youth product. He's almost somehow weaved his way past a Pedisano, but couldn't do so in the end. Hurley. Back to the captain, Nathan Morris. Jordan Jackson, who was here at Edgeworth from 2014 to 2016. Camper to Wilson. Edgeworth here at home, unbeaten in their last 8 matches. That only defeat was way back in round 2 in the opening rounds of the season. It was round 2 against Charlestown. Scott Smith scoring a couple that night. Hurley just holding off Corley. Good strength from Chris Hurley, and then almost was able to get away from a Pedisano. Caleb Cox powers the pass in front of Robbie Turnbull. He'll have to get on his bike, the veteran. He did well. He tried to bend it across goal, but with the wind behind him, he had to get a bit more hook on it, and Couldn't do so running at that kind of speed.
Everything was very quick for Turnbull just there, and as a result, that one overhit and in the wrong direction.
Josh Lowe, 13 clean sheets for him in 31 matches in the NPL Northern New South Wales. Not a bad record, that. And that pass didn't have quite the power he would have liked, Jordan Jackson. And then Scott Carter, as Scott Carter likes to do. Plenty of entertainment when he's on the park, as Nathan Morris, the head to it. There were concerns, but there was an offside against Edgeworth, so free kick going the way of the Bears. Tianfu got it rolled up towards his arm. Now Buswell touches in front of Wilson. Gee, Sam Maxwell has done a lot of good work this afternoon, and he gives away the free kick as soon as I say that. His first game since May. He's been out of the side since then with injury, but he's been superb in the back line this afternoon.
CG, just on Weston here, I like the way when the midfielders turn and face forward, play the ball into the strike, into Buswell's feet, and they run off. They look very sharp going forward. Yeah, we saw that with Tianfu just then, and looking really dangerous. Didn't get to him, but he certainly was on the move.
It's Cox's ball, bounced up in front of Lowe, who did just enough. He was unsighted, the Eagles goalkeeper. Turnbull clipping it forward to Buswell, and then burst into ground. Weston thought they had reason for a free kick there on Buswell, but instead goes the way of Burston, who was clipped down a minute later. Wheeler. Turnbull nods it back to his keeper. How would have you been as a coach if you were the coach of Weston, Smudge, and you saw what Scott Carter did a couple of minutes ago, just chipping the ball out? We might stick here with Regan Lundy. Hurley clipping it to the back post. Tianfu Rose. It's going to bounce up awkwardly for Wilson. He was trying to contort his body to get the volley away, but it was just too difficult in the end. And now Josh Rose. Outstanding, as we mentioned a couple of moments ago. Here's Smudge back on Scott Carter. A couple of minutes ago, when that ball was played through, he just played around with possession for a bit. Just tell me, if you're the Western coach, how high is your heart rate at that point?
Oh, I'd say medium. I've got full faith in Scott Carter's ball control skills, especially nice and close. So yeah, it definitely raises a little bit if you're the coach. So
well, the thing is, he had his.
Well, here's Buswell again.
He had a left fullback or a player on his left side at his disposal. Or was it just an easy rollout? I'm not sure why he did that, but he certainly had an option just to lay it out.
Speaking of coaching, Smudge, since you've joined Bar TV's commentary team, even though it's difficult to say you've been part of the commentary team this year, Broadmeadow Magic have made the finals every year. How are you going to deal if Broadmeadow missed the finals this year? How are you going to deal with that?
That's a silly question, Bart, actually.
Why?
Let's wait and see if they do miss the semis. I think they will. Just with the draw they've got, they need a result today. Other teams are playing each other. Charlestown play Lambton this weekend. There has to be points dropped there. There's going to be points dropped here as well. I think if Edgeworth beat Weston today, that's a better outcome for Broadmeadow.
Well, they've got to beat the Jets, and then it all comes down to that game against Charlestown for mine. So it just comes down to that.
Yeah, the main thing is you want it in your own hands. And even so, it's still going to be in their own hands, I'd say, next week when they play Charlestown. Even if Charlestown's in front of them, if they get the 3 points, they can jump Charlestown. However, they must get the result against the Jets this afternoon. That's vital. And I think they have got a quality squad. They've got quality attackers. I know James Vigili's out at the moment, but I just think they'll get the job done tonight.
Do you think they're struggling with the fact that Ruben Zadkovic is leaving next season? Ruben has said that in the media. He said his side might be a little a little unsure, or maybe not as certain because he's not going to be the coach next season. Does that play a part, do you think?
I don't think so, to be honest. I don't think so. I think, to me, they just look a tad stale a little bit. Like, looking at their structure, they're playing the same structure virtually week in, week out. I've watched them quite a few times on Bar TV. The thing what Broadmeadow don't do, which I like them to see them do, is rotate their midfielders, rotate their front three a lot more. Because sometimes they're a bit more stagnant. Teams playing against them know their artillery, they know how to defend against James Virgilio, they know how to defend against Bradbury, because they've played against them many times. So teams set up like that. So
well,
I don't know. No, me personally, I don't think so. They're experienced side, and if anything, you'd think they want to play for Ruben to win the comp for Ruben. So I think it's the reverse.
Here's Edgeworth with the throw. And the good news is that Damien Smith will be heading to Magic Park, and he will commentate that match between Magic and the Jets solo this afternoon. He'll be providing his expertise on that one.
He's just had a look of horror come over his face.
And we'll double your pay for that one, Smudge, because you're by yourself.
So it's 00. I haven't worked that out yet.
Here's Pat Wheeler. No, he won't be, unfortunately.
All right, triple it.
So just nearing half-time, couple of minutes left in regulation time. Aidan Gardner with the goal which separates the two sides. It was a superb free kick which dipped into the wind, away from Scott Carter into the bottom right corner.
Do you know what I'm thinking more about? I think Weston going into the win in the second half might suit them a bit better, because they like to play with the ball on the deck, and they've got good movement off the ball. They love the ball at their feet, where just a few times going forward they've tried to play the ball in, the ball's just been rolling too far. So I don't know, I think obviously it's an advantage having the wind behind you, but I think it might suit Western's style of play into the wind.
I was going to say, especially when you're in front, it's such an advantage to have the wind behind you, because those clearances, you can thump them up the other end of the park, so especially late on. But the wind just seems to have maybe died down a little bit. Is that fair? Doesn't feel as strong as what it was earlier in the afternoon. It's a neat turn from Tianfu, but well read by Pedisano. Camper and Finn, and a little duel in the corner.
I think the key that we're talking about earlier with the left and right sided players in Camper and Turnbull, they're quite mobile, so having that wing to hold them up a little.
Here's a pass from Cox straight to Will Bauer. He's going to have to beat Jackson and also Morris. He decides to take on Scott Carter, and he didn't miss by much. Gee, hit that well, Will Bauer.
He certainly did, and he also had Gardner on his right, and he had Carter off his line. He had to make some decisions. No one's going to ever blame you for having a shot there. Certainly had plenty to think about as he was going into that.
Well, he can't be far away from a goal. No goal since April, as I mentioned, but that was not a shot of a man who is lacking confidence. That almost seared into the bottom corner. Corley across goal. Jordan Jackson rose tallest for the header. Someone's lost a shin guard, either Will Bauer or Liam Wilson in that tangle. Here is Wilson.
Boys, just going back on the result today, I think a draw for Weston would even be a good outcome for them, considering all the teams have to play each other, and they played Lake Macquarie last game, which you would expect them to get the 3 points.
It would get them back in the 4 as well. A draw this afternoon, at least momentarily, would jump them up above Lambton. Camper taking on Wheeler, who defended that expertly.
And you know what, Smudge? Lakes have got nothing to play for. It's not even like a relegation game. It's just a dead game, so very interesting.
Well, that is the first 45 minutes at Jack McLaughlin Oval, done and dusted. And Weston probably had the best chances to start the match. Really asking some questions of the Eagles' backline. Sam Maxwell, though, stood tall alongside Pat Wheeler. And then Edgeworth earned a free kick just on the outside of the 18-yard box. Aidan Gardner dipped it into the bottom right corner, away from Scott Carter, into the wind. And at half-time, that is the difference. It's Edgeworth Eagles 1, Western Bears 0. Chris Turner, just sum up that first 45 and then you can head off.
Yeah, we'll be heading off and enjoy the second half. Look, Smudge said earlier he thought it would be cagey. It was. There's no doubt about that. And then, look, Edgeworth will be, I think, very, very happy to get it going in 1-0 at half-time. These guys now with the wind at the back, but it's as discussed, and we've had conversations, Smudge, about this plenty of times before. Sometimes playing into the wind is an advantage, and Weston set up well with that. They've got both left and right side players that are both quick. They're ready to get into play, and they'll provide Weston with some width. And as we've also pointed out, Weston enjoy balls into the feet and playing off each other. So balls in, coming back out and getting strikes on goal. So I think the second half will be very interesting, the way that Weston shape up. Edgeworth definitely happy to be going in 1-0.
You know what? This is probably the first time in 5 years, CT. I totally agree with everything you just said then. But I agree. I think Weston, they've got Keanu Moore and a few other bench players. That's a quality bench coming off in that last 30 minutes. And you know what? The wind's just picked up again, hasn't it? So it's going to be right behind Edgeworth's back. However, like we said, for Weston, if they just stay in the game, even if it's 1-0 down, I think it's going to suit them playing into the wind because they like the ball at the feet, on the deck, and it's mouth-watering second half.
We will be back in about 10 minutes' time. Edgeworth leading Weston by 1-0. Welcome back to Jack McLaughlin Oval at Edgeworth, round 21 of the NPL Northern New South Wales, the penultimate round, final round next week. It's second, the Edgeworth Eagles, up against the 5th place Weston Bears. Both sides needing a win for different reasons this afternoon. Edgeworth to keep their hopes of making history alive with a 5th consecutive premiership. And for Weston, they want to make the finals for the first time since 2014.
But I just got a quick one for you. This is one of my pet hates, is when your socks don't match the shirts. And if you look at the referee, see the yellow's slightly out? That's one of my all-time pet hates with a playing strip, and I've just noticed it with the refs.
We're back underway in the second half. After that, Dylan Burston going to look to chip forward and find Will Bauer, but Robbie Turnbull back to clean up for the Bears. Can you see Weston nabbing a goal in this second half? They came close in the first half. It was probably just a few misplaced crosses, just slightly misplaced, that if they're a metre lower or closer to a player, they're popping it in the back of the net. So can they find that in the second half? Pedasano taking on the Bears down the right. If they grab a second, it's curtains, you sense, for the Bears this afternoon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Bart. I think they're definitely a shot of grabbing a goal, but they need to stay in the game. I think if Edgeworth get the 2... Oh.
Jason Tienfu, look at the speed of the Dutchman, takes on Maxwell, and Josh Lowe stood tall. He's rushed out to do the clean-up work, and that's good confidence-boosting stuff for the Eagles keeper after last week not having his best match against the Phoenix.
But also well defended by Sam Maxwell. He held his ground, he didn't dive in, he made Fu go round him, and that allowed Josh Lowe to close him in. So, but yeah, I wouldn't discount Weston. I think they'll suit him playing into the breeze because they like the ball on the deck. They've got a bit of pace up front. They'll try and catch Edgeworth on the break as well, like they did just earlier.
And they're very good with the ball on the ground.
Yep.
And going into the win, that's exactly what they'll need to do.
That's well played. That's very well played, wasn't it?
Just releasing Tienfu for the moment. He drops it in front of Buswell. Look at his first touch there. He has got superb skills, hasn't he?
Do you know what? I'd like to see him take Josh Rose there. They'll space him beyond.
There's Turnbull. Hooked it in, and Holtz will hook it away for Edgeworth. Up towards Archie Finn. Shoulder to shoulder with Morris. Went down in a heap in front of us.
Yeah, looked like a foul on Morris.
Turnbull certainly thought so as well. He's having a bit of a chat to James Cleal. And it looks to just be having a chuckle, the referee. I'm sure he's copped plenty of sprays from Robbie Turnbull over the years.
I think many a referee has. I think Bart, so, and linesman, and probably 4th official.
Aidan Gardner's goal. The difference between the two sides at the moment is from a set piece. Here's a free kick going the way of Edgeworth.
And Bart, this is where Weston need to be careful. Free kicks are in and around the box with the wind right up their back are very dangerous. And obviously Zane's calling out for Aidan Gardner to be on this.
He was screaming out. Wanted Aidan Gardner. He's got the Midas touch at the moment.
You see Will Bowery standing offside there. That's the target what Aidan Gardner is looking at.
There's Gardner. Cross goal. Adam Corley couldn't reel it in. It falls for Burston. Hit it solidly. But it was always going to be tough trying to find its way through that wall of bodies. Rose. Can't run that down. And Aidan Gardner's goal in the first half. His first in the NPL since 2018. Did score in the FFA Cup this year against Broadmeadow in that round 6 match. You'll remember that, Smudge.
Yes.
Not a bad strike. Took a deflection from memory in that massive win. Jackson. Hurley's touch lets him down.
Oh, tough ball.
Here's Pat Wheeler chiming in. And with the wind behind him, he's just got to recalibrate. It's tough, isn't it?
Not even that, but you need to play in the feet. Otherwise, you see the ball just runs onto the byline. Ran on to Scott Carter.
Wilson. Hurley. Bounce in front of Camper. Punches the pass wide to Tien Fu, who, again, not on the same page there, the Bears. Maybe getting a little frustrated. He did score last week against Charlestown, breaking a 6-game drought, but just 1 in his last 7. So not quite the goal-scoring touch that he had earlier in the season. And now Josh Rosewell on another day. He probably runs that down. Well, I'm surprised Robbie Turnbull hasn't kicked that off the field there, considering Weston were behind. I think he just was probably at a bad angle and he just couldn't nudge it off the field, but immediately Edgeworth were crying. 2 balls on the field, and there you go. There's a few seconds taken out of the clock.
Nice touch.
Tien Fu. Taking on Gardner. And now Buswell. We know of his close control. Tien Fu trying to get the shot away. Falls for Wilson. Should he have just gone for goal there and hoped if low parries it falls for, you know, Buswell or Lundy in the box?
Yeah, the ball sort of at his feet. He was just in front by Tien Fu. He could have had a shot on goal, but the ball was just behind him. So, yeah, he had the touch. He needed to hit it first time if he could.
Because into the wind, we've seen the ball doing some odd things. So, worth a try. Putting the goalkeeper under some pressure. Archie Finn got there in front of Wilson.
Oh.
Cries of a handball, which I thought were probably well worth the shout. It's Tien Fu in behind, falls for Chris Hurley on the volley. He's just played the pass back where it came from.
Yeah.
And he's offside, and he's not happy, the Dutchman. He may go into the book here. He thought he was onside. And that just is a little more frustration. For the first time, you can see it boiling over. He's looked to be bubbling away probably for the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, it looks like a bit more chit-chat on the park, isn't there? I think this is going to be a tense second half. They know what's at stake, both sides.
And they'll be frustrated, Weston. If they miss the finals this year, 4 losses, all to quality sides, and in recent weeks, they beat Lambton, drew with Broadmeadow, and drew with Charlestown. Matches where they could have won. Especially that match against Broadmeadow.
But you need to beat these sides to make this.
Almost got taken out there, Smudge. And what you were going to say is you've got to beat those sides to make the semis.
That's exactly right.
Precisely.
The table doesn't lie, Bart.
It's Gardner. Corley. Now Josh Rose, the pass forward was blocked.
Oh, that's well played by Edgeworth. Lucky, but well played. If it broke down, there was 3 Western players on the go.
It's Aiden Gardner sending Camper this way and that, and Scott Carter will gobble that one up. Tien Fu. He has the speed to beat Maxwell. Was he given a tug? No, he doesn't look to be blowing up at all. Just a heavy touch.
He did well again, Maxwell. Just put Tien Fu just off balance. Made him have the heavy touch. When was the last time Maxwell started, Bart?
Back in May.
Back in May. He's having a solid game at the back with Pat Wheeler.
Dylan Holtz doesn't mind a goal against the Bears. Drops it in front of Bauer. Beats a couple. What a run from Will Bauer. And then finished off by Adam Corley. But he can thank Will Bauer for the build-up. That was superb from the front man, and it's 2-0 to the Eagles. Silky footwork, wasn't it, Smudge?
And what I liked about Wilbur there, he was composed, wasn't he? There was quite a few players around, took his time. Good save by Carter. However, Adam Corley, he was there for the follow-up, put it away. 2-0 to Edgeworth. I think it's going to be quite difficult for Weston at the moment. The other thing they need to be careful is goal difference as well, because you just never know. It's such a tight table.
No, that's 100% fair enough. And I will tell you that coming into this one, Weston were plus 11, Charlestown are plus 12. So that shows you how close it is in that context, in that race for the top 4. Goal difference is going to come into it, no doubt.
But even looking at Edgeworth, now their goal difference is 20. Now it moves to 22 at the moment.
Well, Edgeworth is by far and away better than anyone else in the comp, I know that.
That's right. And you know what? The premiership might be decided on goal difference. You never know.
And if it is, they will have the jump on Maitland, who are just at plus 13. So unless they pull out a result against Adamstown like they did last year, Edgeworth are going to go and finish this season with the best goal difference in the league. But will they have the most points? That's what it comes down to.
Just on Sam Maxwell, this is his first grade game for the last 3 months since fracturing his ankle back 3 months ago. So he's been solid. Him and Pat Wheeler at the back. Actually, that's the thing about Edgeworth. Their back line's always solid.
Perfect timing for him coming into this point of the season where Edgeworth have a busy schedule with the FFA Cup match on Wednesday night. This place will be packed for the first time in a nationwide FFA Cup round. Previously they've played home matches at Magic Park. Of course, a lot has been made about the animosity between the two clubs. Edgeworth bringing the lights up to spec here at Jack McLaughlin Oval. Tianfu. And the pitch is looking in outstanding nick, Smudge, isn't it?
Outstanding. It's going to look smick on Wednesday night.
So Camper breaks down the left and now clips it in towards the middle. They're going to need a goal and need one quickly. Tianfu.
Yeah, they shouldn't panic, but there's still plenty of time.
Wilson. Hurley. Bending it in. Low with the punch. Falls for Tianfu. It was acrobatic, but degree of difficulty very, very high.
Yeah, for Weston, they shouldn't panic. There's still over half an hour to go. I think they're going to need one with at least 10 to go. But the thing is, if they start bombing their numbers forward, that's when Edgeworth have got the quality to transition quick and get you on the break, and especially with the pace of Will Bauer, etc. up front.
My question, Smudge, if Weston miss the finals this year, is it going to come down to the fact that a lot of these players haven't played in big matches at the back end of the season in previous years? Of course, they've been right down the bottom of the table as Lowe blasts that into Hurley. They've been at the bottom of the table for the last few seasons. These young boys have come through and they've performed so well this year, but it's these matches they don't have experience in. These matches where they are playing off for spots in the finals where everything's on the line. I know Robbie Turnbull and Nathan Morris fit that bill, but they're about the only two that do that. Will Bauer, shoulder to shoulder with Cox.
Great ball.
And now Archie Finn, who scored that hat-trick against Hamilton, but Scott Carter smothered it. Now Will Bauer! Oh. Still the wait goes on for him, but he's not far away. Just inches in the first half, and that probably even closer.
And full credit to Carter there. He sized Will Bauer up, Archie Finn really well, made the save. And Will Bauer unlucky with a follow-up. And that's where I said Weston there, they can push the numbers forward. However, Edgeworth can really hurt you on that transition and on the counter-attack.
What has been the issue for Weston this afternoon?
I think they've played quite well when the ball's on the deck. However, Edgeworth are just Edgeworth. They just know how to defend. They're in their face.
I love that. That's a great definition. Edgeworth are just Edgeworth. We've just seen it, haven't we, for the last 5 seasons under Damien Zane. They just do what Edgeworth do. That's a new definition.
When you beat Edgeworth, you've earned it. Put it that way.
And it was Valentine who earned it last week, but it happens very rarely. And it's Dylan Holtz. And now Nathan Morris trying to take it quickly, and he's delivered that on a dime to Tien Phu. Got in a tangle though with Aidan Gardner, and the free kick is paid. Now it's Gardner remonstrating with James Clale.
I think just going back to your comment about Weston this time, young players, you've got a few experienced boys in the back line, but if you look at the other teams around in the top 6, they've all got quality squads. So to me, it's just a case of just the other teams have got quality as well. So,
and good sides will miss out this year. Good sides that are right up there in the race for the top 4. What a season it's been. Last season it was decided very, very early. Here's Lundy into the middle. Burston is able to clear it away.
But Bart,
now Will Bauer with open pastures ahead of him. He has men in the middle and well defended by Chris Hurley.
Yeah, and he chased about 50 yards there, Chris Hurley, to stop Will Bauer. And that's where Weston just need to be a little bit careful. They had numbers forward, a bit lean on the back, quick transition by Edgeworth. If Weston do lose today, it's all not lost. They've got Lakes next week, which you expect them to get the 3 points. That will move them to 37 points. A lot really depends on the results tomorrow and Magic this afternoon.
But yeah, that's massive. Well, every game's massive now, isn't it? Gardner in again. Carter with a one-handed, and the strength of him there with the arm outstretched from the body at an odd angle to punch that clear was just superb.
And just one other little thing, Bart. It looks like we've got a substitution here.
So it's Jackson Burston coming on, and it is looking as though it is Sam Camper who is making way. So that's an attacking move, no doubt. And Q Yallins is chatting to Robbie Turnbull, just letting him know what he wants.
To me, I think he's sliding through at the back. He'll play Turnbull, he'll play Morris, and he'll play Jordan Jackson. I reckon he'll slide through at the back for the last half an hour.
Well, if this is the last time we see Weston this year, Smudge, and they don't make the finals, I've got to look back on this season with plenty of positives, and Q Yallins has done a terrific job.
And the other thing is, I like watching them play. They're a great little young side. Love watching them play. They rotate their midfield. They work hard in defence. We've got some young boys who can express themselves. I shouldn't say, but I love them to make the semi-finals because they've had a great year. However, the 4 who get there are the 4 who deserve it.
Rose. Corner going the way of Edgeworth. And you sense it's going to really come down to these draws. The draws at the back end of the season, which are going to hurt them. 3 draws in the last 4 matches. Previous to that, just 1 in the 14 matches to start the season for Weston. And a draw, Trevor Morris said it best a couple of weeks ago. He said a draw is like a loss these days.
You drop 2 points, don't you?
Gardner.
Just on the win there, Bart. It has picked up in the second half, hasn't it?
It has. I'm just going to double check. It was about 35 kilometres an hour in the first half, and
well, you can feel it up here in the commentary box that it's
it has. Yeah. So now the current speed 40 kilometres an hour, but with gusts up to 45. So
yeah, you can definitely tell.
Edgeworth will be enjoying that, especially trying to close this one out. 2-0.
Yeah, so looking at Weston's back line here.
Well, they just need to take time, don't they, Smudge, there? Trying to take it too quickly and delivered straight to Aidan Gardner.
There's still a long way to go, Bart. They just need to be patient with the ball.
Well, there's gaps appearing at the back for Weston as they look for some goals, and Nathan Morris has almost put that one in, but that's what he does.
Just going back on Weston, you spoke about a few of the draws, but I was watching on Bar TV when they had the draw against Charlestown, but it was Weston who scored in the last minute or so. They have the draw against Charlestown. If Charlestown picked up all 3 points there, they'd be in the hunt for the premiership. Well, even they still are.
Well, exactly.
If Charlestown picked up all 3 points, they would have been on top of the table.
Late goals, and isn't that incredible? Charlestown with all the injuries that they have at the moment. Gardner now calling that one in.
Looking forward to that game tomorrow, Lambton versus Charlestown. Oh, great play.
What about the skill there from Bauer and then towards Finn? And Scott Carter reacted first.
And what a quality ball right in front of Scott Carter. Scott Carter did extremely well there, but what a quality ball by Will Bauer.
Yeah, I just thought Archie Finn was a little slow to react, and Scott Carter, his reaction time was high quality, and that was the difference in the end. It's getting a little tense and physical now. Archie Finn rushing away from Hurley. Still holding him off, and there had to be a free kick, really. And now well, Archie Finn, he's got to be careful. Is that almost a headbutt, Smudge? What's he doing? What is he doing?
Tell you what, he was lucky there, Bart. He sort of...
Well...
I'd have to see the replay, but from first look, it looked like he was...
What on earth is he doing? I know he's only a young man.
They're 2-0 up. They've got the free kick. He doesn't need to do anything there. He just gets up. But it's getting a bit spiteful at the moment, the last few minutes. This is a good angle too for Aidan Gardner. Wind behind him. Plenty of numbers in the box.
Scored from the set piece in the first half, Gardner. Jordan Jackson diving in low. Dylan Holtz deciding against taking on the strike. Burston pushes the chip forward. Such is the strength of the wind. On bounce and over the line. So current live ladder, Edgeworth back to the top of the table, 1 point ahead of Maitland, who play Adamstown tomorrow. Isn't that a huge match?
And that just puts a little bit of pressure on, mate. They're expected to win. They're expected to beat Adamstown, but it's at Adamstown.
It's like Liverpool and Man City, that duel at the back end of the English Premier League season, where Liverpool were playing ahead of Manchester City a lot of weeks, and they'd go a point ahead, and Manchester City had come back and retain the lead as Buswell.
It's well played by Weston.
Should say regain the lead. It was just to and fro, and that's what we're going to get here if Edgeworth can close this one out.
And that's the quality of Man City. They soaked up the pressure. They knew they had to win, and they did it in style.
Exactly. Question is, do Maitland have that kind of quality at a local scale?
Well, they've got
put that pressure behind them.
Here we go again. Like we said before, they just have to be careful, Weston.
Well, it's 3-on-2 as Gardner just strides forward. Well, he went down like he was shot there, Archie Finn. Hands flailing. Unfortunate that it just thumped him, tripped him up. It's like he's never left, Sam Maxwell. Here's Pat Wheeler. And that won't worry Edgeworth one bit. And the ball boys taking their time to get the ball to Robbie Turnbull.
I must say, Bart, the over 35 semi-final is on next door, and there's been cheering and jeering and everything. It's been so exciting over on the far pitch at Edgeworth.
And those local league matches, hopefully again this year, we'll get the opportunity to do it again, because the Zone League Grand Final, we did it last year, the Suns and Guitarra South. That was a great day at Magic Park. On Bar TV Sports, Newcastle Suns winning that game as Hurley to Tien Phu, taking on Maxwell, still going Jason Tien Phu and Pat Wheeler. Solid as a rock.
Yeah, and Pat Wheeler's positional play, just he was watching for runners coming through the box. There was no runners there. His positional play is superb.
And just speaking about the end of the season or post-grand final, the week after the grand final here in northern New South Wales, the premiership winner, whether that be Maitland or Edgeworth, will play at home against the winner of the NPL Tasmania.
Don't discount Charlestown either, Bart.
I won't discount Charlestown. Well, anyone really.
Yeah.
You know, Lambton, if results go their way as well, if they win tomorrow against Charlestown. Well, to race in 4 now, it's Edgeworth, Maitland, Charlestown or Lambton that can win the premiership based on the live ladder.
Yeah, and Edgeworth win today sort of rules magic out for the premiership.
Yep. And I can tell you, we'll just go to NPL Tasmania, I can tell you that currently it's Devonport leading that competition, and they will win the premiership. They are miles ahead of Olympia Warriors. So that's Devonport, the side who Lambton Jaffers lost to down in Tasmania back in 2016 in
Who was the goalkeeper?
round of 32 of the FFA Cup. Devonport, they used to have Nico Giantsopoulos,
That's right,
who came up to play for Broadmeadow Magic for 2017 season.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's gone back down to play in Tasmania, but I'm pretty sure he's not with Devonport these days. Yeah, so the strikers from Devonport, so we'll wait and see where they play. Revenge will be on the mind for Northern New South Wales clubs as Buswell in front of Lundy, and he picks his spot perfectly. Regan Lundy, they are back in the match, Weston. Tells the home fans to shush. Here they come. It's not done and dusted just yet. 2 goals in his last 3, Regan Lundy. That was pinpoint, off the post, and just squeezed inside.
That whole play was absolutely superb by Weston. That's what we said. Playing into the wind, I thought they would do well. Josh Lowe positioned himself quite well, but he sort of curled it around Josh Lowe, didn't he? The wind sort of allowed it to go just inside the post, so it's definitely game on. I think for Weston, they just need to be a bit careful.
So Pedisano, maybe just for a moment, they were thinking about Wednesday night. Edgeworth leading by 2-0. And Weston, the energy you saw, especially from Jackson Burston off the kickoff, to put the pressure on the Eagles.
Like I said before, a draw is a good result for Weston here, because they, like I said, they played Lakes last game of the season. Edgeworth played Lambton. So if it was a draw, Weston beat Lakes, Edgeworth and Lambton have a draw, Weston overtake Edgeworth.
Not that it really matters your spots. Apart from who wins the premiership, doesn't really matter your spots in the finals, does it? Of course it affects who you play, but the sides are so even this year.
That's right. Agreed.
And you get a home and away match, so really it gives no advantage to anyone. As here is Josh Rose bending in a corner. The veteran stands tall, as he often does at this time of the season. 2 goals in a week for him. And Edgeworth are 2 clear once again. How about that from Josh Rose, just steering it in with the wind.
Yep. We picked it. You could see that going in, couldn't you, straight away? As soon as he hit it, you could just see Carter was sort of a little bit at the front of the stick, and you could see just with the height and the trajectory of the ball that it was just going to go in that back stick. So
yeah, just hung up there, and I think you gave me the nod. Well, I think I might have looked at you, or you just knew it was.
You just knew it was going in.
Drop
From this angle, because we were up nice and high, you could just tell that was going in.
So as quickly as Weston got themselves back within a goal, Edgeworth extend the lead to 2 goals, and the job gets as difficult as it was previously for Weston. But at least they know they've got enough to find a way through Edgeworth now. It's been 2 set pieces which have killed them. Aidan Gardner in the first half, and then Josh Rose from the corner. But it's the 1%ers that Edgeworth just do best. And it's this spirit of the match where so often they score goals. Final 15, 20 minutes. Tianfu taking on a Pedisano. Here's a corner for Weston.
What Zane has done here is making sure Aidan Gardner, when Tenfu gets the ball with a Pedisano, Aidan Gardner comes in and the double marks, which is such a smart move. And it's forcing Tenfu to go on the outside.
Hurley. Oh, he hit that well. It's up high around the chest of Maxwell. Wasn't a real cry for handball. Just the way he hit the ball, Hurley. Wasn't it so solidly struck?
Yeah.
It just retained its shape. Not its shape, but just it wasn't spinning through the air.
No, it wasn't. It was dead still, wasn't it?
Gardner a neat 1-2 with a Pedisano, who continues the run. He's got an engine, Aaron Apetesano, and he cuts this back towards Keanu Moore, who's now out there for Edgeworth. So he'll get about 15 minutes in the legs as he heads to Wednesday night against the Jets. Club he trialled for in the past is Tien Phu. This is where he is so dangerous, and Josh Lowe at the near post. That was coming with some power and venom, and he did well just to deflect it.
I spoke about before how Aidan Gardner and Aaron Patterson double teaming him, forcing him to go on the outside. That time he wasn't double teamed. He was allowed to come inside and have the shot.
It's really just opened up here. Last 5-10 minutes or so, chances at both ends. Cox is going to bounce across the 6-yard box. Nathan Morris has collected Dylan Burston. It is in the box. Looks to be all right, just rubbing the right side of the forehead. Here's another change for Edgeworth. It's Tyson Jackson. So another member of what you'd probably call their first 11. I know it's hard to work that out with Damien Zane. He rotates his side around, but Tyson Jackson will be expected to start on Wednesday night against the Jets. He's now out there.
And just on Wednesday night, looking at the new lights, Bart, being placed here at Edgeworth.
How good's it going to look? We said about the pitch, but the new lights as well. It's going to be a big night.
For this time of year, I've never seen Edgeworth's pitch look so good. It's looking...
Oh, it looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. I know they had troubles with grass a few years ago. Here's Wilson, cross goal, and Pat Wheeler smothering it at the 6-yard box.
There's still 15 minutes to go, but if Edgeworth can pinch a goal, Weston can get a goal in the next, say, 5 or 6 minutes.
And you can see it, can't you? You can see it happening. They're doing enough. And they've still got John Mark Offer, who is on the bench, the former Avondale and Bankstown City man. He's just warming up at the far end. Hurley towards the back post. Aidan Gardner is up there, and now Will Bauer. Lundy, bring it under his control. Now clipping it to Buswell. Well, Nathan Morris was unmarked. If he just got a little bit more on that Buswell, Morris was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. So Turnbull received the call from Hurley. Morris.
Here again, Aidan Gardner. So he's tucked in right behind it, Pedesano. It's a great game plan by Zane.
Just to make sure he's got no room to work with. And now Buswell just has to strike it first time. It was always rising.
And if he does cut inside that part of the field, there's numbers around like there was then. So you can just see every time he gets the ball, Aidan Gardner just backs up a Pedesano.
So just
I'm miscommenting with you, Bart. Not really CT, but...
Do you know, it's been a while. I was struggling to recognise you when you walked in, actually. Just a reminder, Wednesday night, if you haven't got your tickets, just go to the ffacup.com.au and grab them. Edgeworth taking on Newcastle Jets, 7:30 here. You can also watch it on Fox Sports or on ABC Newcastle. You can listen to it on the radio. Here's Tien Phu overhitting that pass in front of Lundy. So a big night Wednesday night. Big OB truck will be here. That is outstanding. They'll be loving that. Edgeworth back on TV. They were on TV for that match against Weston Sydney. That was in 2016. They almost beat Melbourne City in 2015 at Magic Park.
Aaron Moy, 2 free kicks.
Aaron Moy with the late free kick, and then a year later, 2 free kicks, including that late one, and then the year after playing Western Sydney Wanderers. They missed out last year on the round of 32 onwards, but back again this year. Tien Phu. Well, trying to play for a handball, maybe as he tried to dink that one into a Pedesano. There has been a lot of talk about that. You know the rules, obviously, in hockey, where you've just got to roll it onto someone's foot to earn a short corner or a free hit or there's been talk with the VAR of players just trying to nudge the ball into people's hands and get the VAR to have a look at it and earn a penalty because of it.
Great ball.
So maybe that was what he was trying to do there. There's no VAR, obviously, but earn a penalty.
Just on Wednesday night, Bart, I've been told there's been 2,000 tickets pre-sold.
Pre-sold 2,000. That's outstanding.
2,000, yep.
Just going to check the weather on Wednesday night as well, as we see Chris Hurley into the wind, kept it in, and just too far in front of Jackson Burston.
That's what I like of Chris Hurley. I like when he makes them runs beyond the back four of the defence. Didn't do it too much in the first half, but he's starting to do it late in the second half. That's where he's dangerous.
I can tell you Wednesday is just going to be a bit windy. That's about it. And Aiden Gardner, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing him play on Wednesday night against the Jets. He is a man in white-hot form. And here is Jean-Marc Offer coming on for Weston. He was overseas on trial, so he was playing for Avondale last year, who of course did so well in the FFA Cup, and also in the NPL Victoria. But he headed overseas on trial, but he had some visa problems, so he has come and signed for Weston for the back end of the season. He's got some speed about him.
Just looking here, Bart, obviously Edgeworth's in control, but they've just gone 5 at the back, really clogging to give no room for anyone at Weston on the attack. It's a smart move by Zane and Wilson. They're here just to get the 3 points, close the game out and prepare for Wednesday night.
Rose, the man who put Edgeworth ahead 3-1 with the corner, which went up and over Scott Carter into the back of the net. It was just a great corner, wasn't it? Not too much you could blame Scott Carter for that.
Oh, no way. The trajectory, the wind behind it, it was overcut. Carter had no chance.
It was just a sublime piece of skill from Rose to bend that one in. Just blonked it in the bottom corner, basically. No chance for the keeper. And here is Jean-Marc Offer. Well, he just kept it inside the line. And again, the crossover hit. It's been a Weston's issue this afternoon, inside the final 9 minutes now.
I've still enjoyed watching Weston play today. They play some good stuff when it's on the deck, when they've got good ball movement, they rotate their midfield.
It was just that period after Regan Lundy scored. They looked good for a good period there, and then Josh Rose just burst the balloon, basically.
Yeah, I agree. And again, see, look at Tyson Jackson, double teaming.
That's Tianfu trying to use his guile and skill, but that will be gobbled up by Josh Lowe every day of the week.
He's a bit frustrated, isn't he? Because every time he's got the ball, they've double teamed him. He's got no room and space out there. When he's had the room and space, he's done very well. Looks very dangerous. And
is that why he hasn't scored as many goals in the back end of the season? Because opposition teams have worked him out and worked out how to clog him up and ensure he gets no space.
And if I was coaching, and you don't want him coming inside, you want him drifting on the outside, and that's where you have your double man. Force him to cross it.
Well, here's Will Bauer. He's in on goal, turns away from Jackson, and the deflection is going to take it over for another corner. He must be wondering, what have I got to do to score? Will Bauer, because we talk about strikers that haven't scored for a while. If you came to this match, you wouldn't think he's a striker that hasn't scored in a while. The way that he's hit the ball, probably could have had a goal if it wasn't for some last-ditch defending for Weston, which basically deflected the ball up to Adam Corley, and he plonked it into an empty net, or one where he only had to beat the keeper.
Do you know what? Will Bauer has got so much talent. I love him just to accelerate a bit more. I think there's more in him.
20. He's 20.
I know, but I think he's got so much talent. Sometimes, to me, he's been a little bit inconsistent, but I think he's got some raw talent there, which I know Zane will...
Well, he's headed off the park, Will Bauer. Dan Fabrizio is now out there. Former Canberra United youth product. Played in the NYL for Canberra United. He's had an ACL injury, which he's been recovering from this year. It's Keanu Mort, Jordan Jackson going in there on former teammate. Exciting to see Fabrizio out there, because I know and I've heard great things about him coming up playing in Canberra. Just needs to get that confidence back after an ACL injury, because it is so tough.
It's a bit cold up here, but
It is, but these jackets are keeping us, well, keeping me nice and warm. I know you're struggling a little bit. Jackson calls it up to Weston, but Dylan Holtz picked his pocket. Tyson Jackson forward to Fabrizio, holding off Robbie Turnbull. Jackson Weston should do the grunt work there to just use his body well. Rolled it to Turnbull. Weston's chip into the wind, looking for off air. It's going to fall for him. Pedisano and Gardner just lost the ball mid-flight. Pat Wheeler.
I know there's still 5 minutes to go, but if Edgeworth win this game, I'll tell you, they've won in defence. Their defence has been rock solid once again.
And
led by Pat Wheeler and Josh Rose at the back, 2 experienced players.
And surprisingly, not the best defence in the league. Lambton with the best defence, 18 goals conceded in their 18 matches. Edgeworth just behind them in second, 21 conceded in now almost 19 completed. Dylan Holtz, Rose. And here is Aidan Gardner looking for a second. Aidan Gardner, dead-eye into the bottom corner. Isn't he playing some superb football at the moment? 4-1 to Edgeworth. And they say bring on Wednesday night, and the Newcastle Jets. I'll be at the top of the table after today. Can Maitland overhaul them tomorrow? That is the big question now.
And what a strike by Aidan Gardner. You know what? The ball came to him. It was stuck under his foot. Just moved it a little bit forward and just composure. Took his time. Great strike. Bottom left-hand corner. Carter, no chance. Another workmanlike performance by Edgeworth. Edgeworth are just doing an Edgeworth again, aren't they? They're 4-1 up. This is going to help their goal difference as well, because you just never know what's going to happen this back end of the season with results.
Well, plus 20 is now plus 23 for Edgeworth. I don't really think they need much more of an increase in goal difference. They're that far ahead as Tien Phu. This is going to hurt Weston more so. Plus 11, now back to plus 8, especially being so close to Charlestown.
It's amazing how a game can turn. Lundy makes it 2-1. Game on, and then Rose.
Wilson. Now Weston, he wouldn't have minded another goal against Edgeworth. Scored against them last year at Jack McLaughlin Oval, and it was Edgeworth who won 4-1 on that occasion. Edgeworth won both matches between these two 4-1 last year. Looks as though it's going to be a similar story this afternoon. And Weston's wait for a win at Edgeworth is going to go on. They haven't won here since 2013. Took penalties in the elimination final to get them there. So Chris Hurley bending it across, and he got up well, Jordan Jackson. Got up really well. So potentially a head clash. That's why James Cleal has quickly called things up, and Pat Wheeler I think is all right.
I think Pat Wheeler's saying he had his elbow raised, but full credit to Josh Lowe there. He stayed on his line and was very comfortable receiving the ball.
So Chris Hurley getting a well-earned rest.
He's had a good season,
Camper.
Chris Hurley.
Jack
Very
Camper
good
heading
season.
out there. Yeah, he has. And I don't know whether you'd call him underrated, because I highly rate him. I highly rate Chris Hurley. Maybe underrated because he's not at one of the big clubs, as we say, the big inner city clubs.
I highly rate him. His work ethic, his work rates are beautiful touches. Can score a good goal too. But his work in defence, he's got a high work rate.
Well, he doesn't score a bad goal, Chris Hurley. Turnbull. Buswell. So for Weston, they're going to look ahead to next Sunday. They play Lake Macquarie at Rockwell Automation Park. They have to win it if they want to make the finals. That's basically the equation for them.
Weston have to win it.
Jackson Burston doing well to keep that one inside their chalk. And then Sam Maxwell doing likewise for Edgeworth and clearing it. Well, man of the match, who would you go for? Because Maxwell and Wheeler have been rock solid in defence. Will Bauer's been good up front.
Aidan
Here's
Gardner's
Dylan
been
Holt
quality.
and Aidan Gardner as well. You can't forget him. Holtz with a mesmerising run. Moore to Fabrizio. He wouldn't mind a goal. His first in the NPL Northern New South Wales. He couldn't just skirt his way around Jordan Jackson.
You know what, Bart, going back on player of the match, it's very hard to pinpoint one player because it's been such a team effort from
It's an Edgeworth thing, isn't it?
It's an Edgeworth thing.
You were talking about adding Edgeworth to the dictionary as just doing an Edgeworth. And that's an Edgeworth thing.
It's been a professional performance. They've come here, they've got the 3 points.
Tick. Next.
Next, yeah. And Zane, you left some key players on the bench. Jackson, Moore.
Oh, this is Jackson into Offer. Good news is he's
Quite lucky there, Jackson.
Very lucky. Now it's a tough angle from us up here. It was a little blocked, but yeah, looked to be very lucky. Gardner, Fabrizio, and Robbie Turnbull went spinning to the turf. Free kick going the way of the Bears.
One person I need to give credit to is Sam Maxwell. This is his first game for 3 months after a broken leg. He's been absolutely superb. He's had... Obviously he's been struggling a little bit fitness-wise, but he's been absolutely superb. But led by Pat Weller at the back and Josh Rose.
Well, one man they'd love to have on a Wednesday night is Josh Evans, but I'll tell you what, they've got some handy replacements out there. And Dom Bazzari, of course, is injured as well. So 2 of their frontline defensive options unavailable.
I think they've got 6 starting players out, including people who have got long-term injuries.
But this is
potentially 6 starting players out today.
It's incredible, but nothing gets written about that. I feel more is written about players missing from other clubs, and it's something that Damien Zane doesn't really talk about as it falls for Lundy, because he's got so much other talent. You never hear him whinging about players that they haven't got,
never,
do you?
Never.
Never.
But he keeps finding talent, and the thing with Zane, he believes in them as well. It gives the players the confidence. So every time they walk on the pitch, they're puffed chest out. They're very confident. They know their role.
And I was going to say, and if you've got a coach that might go, oh, well, we've got all these players out, do they go out on the field as much with the confidence that Damien Zane gives them? The
That's
chest
exactly
puffed
right.
out. If you're talking about, oh, damn, we haven't got X players.
But you know what? It all comes down to Maitland tomorrow. Maitland versus Adamstown. They've got some experienced players, Maitland, which I think they should get the job done. But they'll be feeling a bit of pressure.
Here's Fabrizio into the book late on. Yeah, tomorrow. Well, what a day it sets up tomorrow.
And looking at Charleston versus Lambton, I think, do you know what? Either side would probably be, obviously both sides will like to win, but a draw there keeps them both in the hunt for a semi-final spot. It's still in their hands.
So those fixtures that are coming up, Adamstown and Maitland, that's at Adamstown Oval. So if you want to get down to Adamstown Oval, lovely ground as we know, that'll be a special afternoon. Up goes Josh Lowe. That is Adamstown's final match of the season as well. So big final home match. They want to finish the season on a high and avoid the wooden spoon as well. And then Charlestown and Lambton at Lyle Carr, 2:30, and Lake Macquarie and Valentine.
That's a big game.
Well, it is.
That's a massive game.
Huge game to try and avoid the wooden spoon. Valentine don't want to get it 2 years in a row. And they have been much better this year, but you know, when you look back in 20 years' time, it's all counts the same as a wooden spoon.
Well, they beat the leaders at the time, Edgeworth. They could have got something out of the game last week against Maitland.
So Morris calling it across the face of goal. Jackson with the clearance away. The wind has got even stronger in the last few minutes. Lowe was calling for it, but Maxwell just went safety first, launched it up the ground, and the Eagles' hopes of a history-equaling 5th consecutive premiership are still alive. And for the moment, they will leapfrog Maitland and take a 1-point advantage into the premiership race. But the Magpies will look to take that mantle back tomorrow. It was a first half free kick from Aidan Gardner, which found its way into the bottom corner. A superb strike. And in the second half, Edgeworth just too strong. Gardner with a second, which just seared into the corner. Josh Rose with a corner, which went all the way in. And Adam Corley with another goal. Regan Lundy got the solitary goal for Weston. It wasn't enough though. And at full time, it is Edgeworth 4, Weston 1. And Damien Smith, Edgeworth again bouncing back. You don't see them lose 2 matches in a row very often. And well, once again, they bounce back from that disappointing defeat against Valentine and roll on to Lambton Jaffers next week at Arthur Eden Oval.
And still keeps him in the hunt for that premiership, that 5th premiership. You know what, the key point for me was, it was a great win by Edgeworth, but the key point was when Weston got back at 2-1, had a bit of momentum, and then Josh Rose scores that sizzling goal from the corner. I think that just shifted the game, and then Edgeworth went on and just finished it off. It was such a workmanlike, professional performance by Edgeworth. Now they'll rest up, look forward to Wednesday night. You know what? I don't know. I think they're a chance against the Jets, I feel. You just don't know. Obviously the Jets, because Jets got a lot of players out. So it really depends. If the Jets have got like your Toppers and your Bogarts back, I think, defensively they'll be quite sound, or very sound. But if they've got some key players out, you just never know. And from all reports, the Jets and Hamilton on Thursday night was quite a tight game.
Well, it'll be an interesting Wednesday night. The great news is that regardless of who wins Northern New South Wales football, I know the Jets aren't with Northern New South Wales technically, but the region has one side going through to the quarterfinals, and that has never happened before. So that's going to be great. There's going to be one side from this region in the last 8.
Yeah, that's great news. Great news. Great for Newcastle. But just going back on Weston, I thought, they played some well in patches. I just thought there was just key moments in the game which didn't either fall their way, or they didn't take their chance, and Edgeworth just punished them. And in the end, Edgeworth were deserved winners 4-1, and now the pressure is back on Maitland. That gives Edgeworth a top 4 spot now. They're in the semi-finals. For Weston, they need to win next week.
And tomorrow, with that match between Charlestown and Lambton, that's going to end the premiership hopes of one of those two sides, or potentially both if it's a draw. So it's probably a race in 4 for the premiership, mathematically speaking. I think Lambton probably go close to ruling them out. It's either going to be Edgeworth, Maitland or Charlestown at this point in time. But just in terms of the goal difference, so Edgeworth are plus 23, Maitland are plus 13, Charlestown are plus 12, so that's really tight. Maitland and Charlestown, so say Maitland draw tomorrow and Charlestown win, they're going to be both on 38. Goal difference comes into it. Lambton are plus 18. Really good goal difference, Lambton. Weston now plus 8 and Broadmeadow plus 11. So Weston have the worst goal difference of any side in the top 6.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that going to count against them?
It might count against them towards the end. You'd expect them to get the 3 points against Lace next week. We moves them to 37. There's still a chance. However, I think it's going. I don't know. It depends on results tomorrow. Really depends on results tomorrow. Like if Charlestown and Lambton win, or even if Charlestown and Lambton have a draw tomorrow, the top 4 remains the same, and their semi-final spot will be in their hands because they play Edgeworth and they play Magic. Charlestown plays Magic, so it keeps the semi-final spot in their hands if they have a draw.
We'll bring on more seasons like this because it's been so good. In previous years we've been talking about the semi-final matchups at this point. We don't even know who's going to be in the semi-finals.
That's why I came back, Bart.
How good. All right, well, Smudge, you have a good week, and we'll be back next Sunday. We're not sure where yet. It's either going to be Magic and Charlestown, that at Charlestown, and the other match it could be is Lambton Jaffers against Edgeworth.
What happens if Maitland are playing for the premiership against the Jets, and they haven't won the premiership in 50 years.
Not 50, 39.
39.
39.
Oh, it was close.
1980, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I don't know. You'd have to consider that one.
Well, you would.
Massive celebrations. However, they need to get over, mate. They need to get over Adamstown.
They do. Oh, how good is it? All right. Well, also Edgeworth, of course, Wednesday night, 7:30 against the Jets. Get your tickets. It's on Fox, ABC Radio. You won't miss it. Thanks for your company this afternoon. Edgeworth, too good against Weston. They take it out by 4-1. Back to the top of the NPL Northern New South Wales momentarily, at least. We'll catch you soon.